to see your smiling faces. It's great to be here. Definitely, I know you all know I live in Lowydale, and Lowydale has been going through the craziest weather up there, and I consider it an absolute blessing that you have down here what you have. No, I was looking at things earlier today in my mind and thinking, what are we here for? And what have we chosen as souls to come here to experience? And what have we learned to share with others? You know, there was a time in my life at 11 years old that I passed over to Spirit 3 times. And I went through the tunnel of light, and I experienced being there with my grandmother and Jesus. And he explained to me why I was here. And I refer to it now as it took 3 times for them to convince me to come back. Because when I was over there, it was like, that was so beautiful and wonderful there, and the energy was amazing. And to come back and say, okay, we're going to deal with the physical world again. And I feel why we're here, and we sometimes, I think, get caught up in our physical lives and what we have going on every day, and all the important things that are in the tangible world. And I find myself floating away and being out there with Spirit more than being here at times. And I have to anchor myself and say, you know, we're here for a purpose. And what's our purpose? What's our intent? What is our intent needing to be? And as we start focusing on that a little more, certainly a meditative calmness is a doorway to that, opening up and being calmer and bring more peace in our lives, but to also bring healing. You know, we're in this clay body, and we're experiencing things in our body at times that sometimes aren't so pleasant. And we need to look at the idea of healing and how we're working in ourselves and our thought. And what are we doing with our thought process that is either bringing the harmony or the disharmony, just like we just read out of the front of the book here, the hymnal. It's like, where are we really in our thinking that's either bringing the balance of healing and the harmony energy, or is it bringing some disharmony because of how we're thinking? You know, I see people every day that I look at times and, you know, not making a judgment, but looking at it and saying, what harmony or disharmony are they choosing to live in? And I want to say in ourselves, what harmony and disharmony are we choosing to live in? Because at times we do forget things, and we get very carried away on the physical plane of some of the disruptions and the things that are going on. I look at the world around us and realize how really, to me, a little crazy things can be at times. And I look at people, and it's always bothered me when I was 11 and I passed away 3 times and went through the tunnel of light. You know, I experienced harmony there and peacefulness there, and experiencing the idea of not having any thought or feeling of a negativity about anyone. And that was just amazing to me, to come back to the earth plane and recognize the energy and how people feel and think and act out. And you look at some of those energies and you think, but why? And I find that we're in a time right now in our lives that I feel the world around us has a little craziness going on. But it's something that we can work on things in a healing way, and that healing energy affects everybody. We're all connected, and we're all in tune in some ways. And I find that with Spirit, you know, they sometimes come to me and say, send out the thought and prayer for this person, or healing for that person. And to send out that thought and prayer, do we need to know why? I don't need to know why. I just know that it's needed, it's necessary. And to please have that thought in your own meditativeness, in your own attunement. Just when you have someone flash in your mind, let's send out that love and energy to them. It could be a stranger, it could be someone you like or don't like, it doesn't matter, to send out that energy. You know, I've had some people respond to me at times in odd ways. I met a gentleman one time that he was quite, I would term it, more negative in his attitudes about life and everything around him. And as he was around me and I'm talking to him, he finally stopped me and said, why are you talking to me? He said, I don't have people talk to me. And I said, well, you're another person like I am, and we're sharing, and we're communicating a healing energy. And he looked at me and he goes, healing? I said, yes. I said, you're talking to me, aren't you? So it's like the communications are there and we need them. You know, I walk through a doorway of a restaurant and I'll hold the door for someone And there are people that respond so wonderfully, and it's very positive. And then you have people look at you like, what do you want? What are you doing? You know, you're holding the door for them. And I want to say, let's look at an everyday level here of what we can do to bring that harmony into the people around us. All of them. The ones that respond in a positive way, that's great. And the ones that don't respond in a positive way, that's okay too, because we're planting the seed of that healing. And I find at times, some of the people that I've had it happen where they would say, you know, they don't like someone or they dislike your energy. And I've watched it happen, and just start sending them the energy of healing. And pretty soon, they're looking at you, they're turning around and talking to you. And I've had the most, you could term, negative thinking people respond to me in the oddest manner, and they didn't know why. And I just look at it as something that, to me, it's all part of what we're here for, to share with people and touch people in ways that they may not understand or experience. Once they experience that, they're open to experiencing more, whether it's through you or someone else. And that healing energy, to me, is so important. You know, I look at things and say, what are we here for? When I had the experience of going to Spirit, I was being shown little movies of all the events in life that were coming. And for example, I was 11 when it happened, which is quite a while ago, and we had the first shuttle go up and explode. I had seen that in one of the little movie clips of what was going on and what was futuristic. And I still see things happening that are still coming. And I look at it as something that I've watched what prayer and energy does to change the things that are occurring with people. And I've seen it happen in such an in-depth way that it even amazes me at times how many people can really shift and change. I've seen people, like I travel and we come down to Florida and visit Florida and spend time here, and you don't see someone for a year or so and then you see them again. The energy of healing, I find, is pretty amazing how people will shift thinking. I have a couple of people I've met where over a period of time now, they've gone from what would be a very physical bound person in the physical world to now, I want to understand my dreams, I want to remember my dreams and what do they mean. I'll get a phone call now and then and say, well, I dreamt this, what does this mean? And it's like, I believe we're in a time right now that a lot of people look at things in a sense of crisis and confusion in the world, but I look at it as the most wonderful opportunity to bring the healing in, because people are really asking for, they're open to, they're interested in, and we as spiritualists and others around us of like mind would be wonderful teachers. And to be able to impart that and share that, to me, is not only important but very meaningful. And to work with the idea of bringing the healing in whatever way. You know, I had something happen at a restaurant a short time ago where the gentleman held the door for us. And I thanked him, and I put my hand on his shoulder, and I felt this healing energy. And he went like this, and he looked at me, and I don't think he knew what happened, but there was a lot of energy exchange there. And I just felt like that was such a wonderful experience to know that energy flows right there. And it's a healing energy. You know, my grandmother always taught me, you know, put your hand in Jesus' hand, Jesus will guide you. And I was always in that belief system that we always have guidance. We're never without guidance. And I believe Spirit's always touching us in a way to bring upliftment and help. You know, I had a child one time, a little boy about 5 years old. He started seeing Spirit, and his family didn't understand it, and they were getting a little frightened over the idea that this little boy at 5 is seeing Spirit. And the problem was, it wasn't just seeing Spirit, but it was seeing the mother's father. And he came through to this little boy a number of times. So, in a way, they were a little reluctant to ask me to talk to him. And I said, well, number one, I'd be very happy to talk to him. I said, but, you know, you need to know that it's not a circumstance of me shutting him down and saying, you know, this isn't good or you can't do this. This is something that's very open and very needed. And he started sharing with me seeing Grandpa and great-grandpa and all the other family members that came through. So I worked with him and got him to understand he could set a perimeter, because it frightened him a little bit, to set a perimeter. All right, Nicholas, you can have them be at the doorway at that end of the room. And they'd come in and they would show that their presence is there and they'd communicate with him. And as long as they were at the doorway, he was okay. There was a little bit of a gap there. And the mother finally called me one night, about 11 o'clock, and she said, I don't know what to do with him. He came out of the bedroom and said to me, there's a whole lot more people in the other bedroom. And the mother walked back and actually didn't see anything. And the little boy's naming the people off because they're telling them their names. And I talked to her and I said, now, got her calmed down. I said, now, get Nicholas. I said, I'll talk to Nicholas. So I made it a fun thing that it's like, you mean you got to meet your great-grandfather? Isn't that wonderful? And brought it into a positive space of understanding and brought it into a healing energy. That they were there to help him, they were there to help the mother, they were there to help the whole family, and that this was something wonderful. Well, there was a period of time the mother had cancer, and the mother had a real difficult time with cancer. And I was working with a little boy, and I was working with him on learning healing. I said, you just need to set the intent. You need to set the intent in your mind, and that's what you do. And if you feel drawn to put your hands on him, that's fine. And now mind you, he's 5 years old. He soaked it up like a sponge. And it was really amazing how much he worked with. So the mother, when she got back from the surgery, she couldn't lay down. And she was sitting up in a rocking chair. And her husband took and tilted the chair back and put some books underneath the front of it to make sure she could lay back and try to go to sleep. He came out with his sleeping bag in the living room and put his hand on her foot. She woke up and she said, his hand was so hot I felt I was getting burnt. And he took his hand off and there was a fingerprints and hand mark on her foot, red. And I ended up getting a phone call the next morning and they said, oh my God, it's like they couldn't believe what happened. And they said, well, doesn't she feel better? And it was just amazing results of her feeling better and not having the pain, and reached a point where she wasn't even taking the medication for the pain. And he kept saying, Mom, I want to work with you with healing. So how open are we when we're that young? And how open are we now as understanding that and working with that and allowing that? And let's go back to having that childhood belief and that childhood trust of allowing ourselves to do it and not question it. I look at healing as something I don't question. I put forth the intent and thought. I don't worry about what's happening or how much is happening or how little is happening or how it feels. Just set that intent and thought and allow the energy to be there. And as that starts flowing, I find it's quite amazing the changes that occur. All of us look at the world around us, and I'm sure we have our own physical world things going on we deal with and feel responsible for. But let's have a moment of meditation when you have this in the evenings or in the mornings, whatever you'd like to do, and put out that energy of healing, and it's for the world around us. I was told by my grandmother, she used to take me to visit people. And I didn't realize it at first, but she'd take me to visit people that she knew was going to be passing. And I would get to talk to them and share with them. And when they came back in spirit, I recognized who they were, and I felt a very comfortable energy with them. And she told me one time, she says, remember something, when you're praying for someone, she said, you always pray that they're healed here or hereafter. Don't try to dictate a prayer in a sense of saying this has to be this way and I want them this way and I want them that way and how you're demanding. You're asking for the highest and best. And I've been in many situations where someone would be at their point of leaving and just pray for them in the healing energy. I've watched people come out of comas and they would talk to the family and share with the family, and in 10 minutes they let go and go on. But they were perfectly normal and communicating normally. My mother had cancer, And when she passed away, she had had a lot of pain, and they had her on morphine and all this, and she was very, very much out of it. And when I walked in the room, she spoke to me like there was nothing wrong. She shared with me and communicated, and we both knew this was the end and it was time to go on. But I find it fascinating, beyond what we call the physical world and the physical understandings and all these different events in life, there's a real knowing. I've watched people that have worked with healing have wonderful experiences. One lady said to me one time, she said, you know, the angels are coming to get me Friday. And she was in a nursing home. She said, they're coming to get me Friday. She said, they told me that before breakfast, they're going to come. And they did. And she talked to the nurses and said to the nurses, don't bring me breakfast. She said, I'm not going to eat breakfast. She says, the angels are coming to get me. And I had to laugh as I was walking out of the nursing home. I get stopped at the different desks where the nurses are, and they're going, how long have you known her? She has this belief, and it's like it's so strong. And she said, she's leaving Friday. And I said, she will. I said, you know, I knew her from when I was a child, and she was a wonderful medium, Grace Weston. And fascinating lady, little tiny person, 4'10", very powerful as a giant person. And it was just amazing, her energy. But the healing energy was phenomenal. And I remember her saying to me one time, she says, you just remember that no matter what, you're always protected, always guided, always uplifted. It's that we choose to ignore it or detach from it or not be connected to God's energy and the flow of energy through us. It isn't God disconnecting or Spirit disconnecting from us. It's we choose to disconnect. And to recognize that in ourselves and realize how many times do we get too busy with what would be the physical world and get too caught up in that. Now, yes, we're here. You know, one of the statements my grandmother made too was, we're in the body for a reason. What are we here for? And what are we experiencing? What are we learning? And to remember what we're learning. So looking at all the little turmoils we have in life around us or the events in the world around us, it's all lessons. And let's put the prayer out and the energy out and the healing out to bring that balance and bring that balance in a healing manner. Be it mentally, emotionally, physically, or spiritually, bringing that balance in their own lives. You know, all of us here would be spiritualists and understanding, and there's a lot of like-minded people out there. I feel the world is making a huge shift, and people are becoming more in tune to their mediumship and awareness. There's more people interested in healing, looking at different religions and things like that. There's so much more open to it. There's a lot of them doing laying on of hands that normally wouldn't have. I've heard different ministers of different faiths talk about things in a healing manner that they normally before would have never. So I find it fascinating how the energy is really changing, and it is really a beautiful upliftment. And let's enjoy that. You know, I know people worry about things and get concerned about the world, but I want to say, let's make the world better. Let's work on the healing intent and set that intent in a positive way. Thank you. God bless you all.